Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. Abba Noah, Shabbat Shemaya, Kodash Haya Shemcha Ahaya, Malakwaka Taba'a, Ratazawanka Haya Aisha, Ba'arataza Kawa, Haya Bashemaya, the thunder Noah, Lakham Kau Yawam, Wasalak Noah, Kawat Waf Noah, Hasalak Noah, Kawat Waf Yanawa Wala'a, Abayak Noah, Anasaya Wan Abal, Awashai Noah, Man Rai Kayalaka, Hamalakwa Waha Allah, Bahathapa Arak, La Iwalamyam, Aman. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen, 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 amen.
The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding Him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew Bible Academy. You're invited. Shalom, brothers and sisters. We are the elders of the Gathered of Christ Church. I'm Elder Ricard Shar, along with Elder Lawyer, with our weekly Sabbath lesson. All right, get your pen and pads together. We have a great lesson to go into, a much needed lesson, which through prayer we hope will actually help sustain brothers and sisters through these confusing, crazy times. Okay? Yeah. Y'all see the topic. You see the title. Many shall betray one another is our lesson. And the betrayals have already begun. They've already begun. Okay, we're going to get to a certain number before actually diving in. So please hit the like button to drive the traffic, because yes, this channel, as well as any other channels we're teaching from, isn't referred under a shadow ban. Okay, why? You know why. It's the truth. All right. Now, before I go into the lesson, right? Get wise as a serpent for me. Before I go into the lesson today, brothers and sisters, I would like to invite you all into a new enrollment for our Hebrew Bible Academy, based on the fact that we're actually in the last week of this one. Tomorrow we'll conclude a Hebrew Bible Academy. It was great. Tomorrow I'm going into the judgment of the nations, the Gentile nations who have conspired themselves in secret against our people. The judgment that's coming on them for cursing and destroying our nation. Okay? The coming of our Lord and Savior and the judgment of the Gentile nations will be our lesson, week 12 of the Hebrew Bible Academy. So for those who are in the Academy, tomorrow you're in for a treat. And then next week, for those who are in the Hebrew Bible Academy, you'll receive all of the some of the sources that I told you I would send you through PDFs and all that. You'll receive those sources. You'll also receive, thank you for your enrollment, you'll receive our precept booklet and all those things that comes with at the end of our academy, and a certificate to say that, yes, I've went through 12 weeks of the academy. Also next week, will be the test, where it's a test where you test your own acumen based on the 12 lessons that we've gone over. Okay. This way you'll see if there's areas in the Hebrew or in the lessons that you'll probably need to brush up on, as far as, just testing yourself. And it also give us a gauge on, on your acumen, also on your understanding of the word as well as the Hebrew. Now, this Hebrew Bible Academy, which will start in 2 weeks, October 31st, will have brand new lessons, okay? Because as the times grow near, the Most High has bestowed on us more understanding, even on the same topics that we've taught. No one lesson is ever the same. We will be going into in depth, finding the Ark of the Covenant. What was this machine from heaven? Okay. And the Most High will give that Ark of the Covenant back to us. Okay. It's hidden right now. The Bible gives a geography on exactly where it is, but the Gentiles cannot get it. Why? Because it's placed in an actual area that's protected by angels. Okay? It's in an actual area that's protected by angels, and I'm going to talk about that in the academy. The revealing and finding of the Ark of the Covenant. I'll also be going into alien life to show people that there is no such thing as aliens. According to the Bible, these are fallen angels, okay, who were here before Adam and Eve. Okay, they were in the earth. They were in the ice during the Ice Age stage of creation. Okay, they were in the ice. They were in the congealed ice when the Most High put a firmament around the earth. They were trapped in the ice. Okay, so that's right. The original base for the fallen angels who disobeyed in the heavens, their original habitation was in ice. Okay, that's right. That was their original place. They made a place for themselves in the ice and came out later. These are your aliens, and they are the controllers of this world under the fallen angel Lucifer. You'll find that out and more in week 2 of our Hebrew and Bible Academy, Tracing the Serpent's Seed. Okay? Everything the Christian church and the Gentile mythological religions have taught us was really to conceal us from the truth of the gods they serve. The gods they serve aren't mythological at all. And also, they gave us knowledge and technology to separate us from our God, so that we would honor their God's technology and power and ingenuity, opposed to honoring the God who made everything. What greater science than the science that comes from the heavens from our Almighty God? So that and more. We'll be going into so-called UFOs, the whole thing. You don't want to miss the next installment of our Hebrew and Bible Academy. And what I like about the Academy, Elder Lawyer, not just the Hebrew and the lessons, the fact that when Shabbat comes in with the news, it's real time what's going on current. Right? Absolutely. So one thing about it, sometimes we get breaking news in the midst of the Academy, right? Absolutely. Right? Where Shabbat will be talking about something and we get a text or something comes in real time as it's going on, something seriously relevant that's going on. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, I love how the Most High put that academy together. It's nothing like it that I've seen since the time that I've been in the understanding. And it's a blessing to be a part of it and to share the knowledge the Most High has given us within this journey. So I'm going to say it again. If you wish to get into this Hebrew and Bible Academy, it doesn't cost much at all. It's a 3-month course, and it's the most fun you would ever have dealing in this word. We guarantee it. And you will learn more in one lesson than all of your years in any religious institution. We'll guarantee it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you were a Christian. It doesn't matter if you was once a Muslim, atheist. Because most atheists go against the Bible because the Christians don't know it. They're seeking answers that only those who believe in the Bible can teach. So it makes one atheist or agnostic. All right? Even atheists have come in and turned back to the Bible. Okay? And guess what? Even if you are an Israelite, because why? There's different doctrines of Israelites, but there's only one doctrine that's contained in the Bible. In Moses' Torah, in Moses' 5 books, in the prophets, we went over the different factions of Israelites in the academy, and it doesn't matter what faction you are. There's only one doctrine of the Bible, regardless of what group you're divided under. So we invite all, whether you Jew or Gentile, it doesn't matter. Learn the book. It's only $50 a month. a drop in the bucket for more information that you've ever received in any school anywhere, any religious, theologian college anywhere. Yes, we have people who went through the theologian colleges and send us email and say, listen, and call us and say, we've never heard anything like this. Okay. All the money they spend to go to Jesuit theologian school, only to bring back the lying doctrine from the Roman Catholic Church. We have people that was in the theologian school who actually came in the academy and said, you know what? This is it. It's only $150, $75 the first month, $75 the second month, and you're sealed. Okay. The ninth and 10th week of the academy, we will be going into, folks, finding the Ark of the Covenant and the Israelites' tribulations in the wilderness. Okay, you don't want to miss that. So I'm sprinkling new dynamics all through the academy, and I hope you'll share that experience with us, which starts October 31st. Let me now put the, before we begin, historytimes.org. I just wanted to make sure we went over this so that we have enough people in, especially so that people don't have to pop in and say, what y'all talking about? So I wanted to cover that. Historytimes.org if you're interested in our Hebrew and Bible Academy. Now, for those who are saying or may claim that, okay, I don't want to pay, or I don't know why I have to pay for the Hebrew and Bible Academy, that's fine. What we're doing here today is for you. All right. There's much information online, thousands upon thousands of videos that you can go through and learn the doctrine of the Bible with no issue at all. Okay. But our classes are just that. Classes under a controlled environment for those who are looking to up their biblical acumen and stay in the loop, separate from what's going on here. All right. It takes a lot of work behind the scene to accommodate so many people. All right. So yes, that's a different thing. That's a different scenario altogether. Like there's a difference in what people will receive online than if they were to actually go into a local church. They choose one or the other, or whatever the case might be, but it's a more engaged scenario than online. Now, when you go to a church, there's expenses you must incur. Okay. You must pay gas. You must get the family together. You must get there. Whatever is going on in there, there's an expense there. Okay. But you're going that extra mile. Okay. The academy is just that. It's a lot of work that goes behind it. And to serve so many people at once, the team we have here does a great job. And I like to commend them. But I would like to say this is the reason why you understand there is a small fee for that. Okay. So for those who feel a need to say, well, okay, why do we charge? Well, I can't even go there with you because you don't know what it takes to actually have that done consistently on a weekly basis. I would say just thank the Most High. Thank the Most High that you have the opportunity to get the lessons like you're going to get today. Okay. which doesn't cost you anything but rolling up out of your bed and looking at your phone or computer. Absolutely free of charge. Okay. Now, let's go in. How many people we have in right now? Another lawyer. Let's see. Okay, 1,700. That's a good start. I might as well start. Okay. Again, historytimes.org. And for those who would like to become a part of our Patreon, I mean, there's a lot of great things we're doing with Patreon. So become a Patreon member to get the extra details, the extra research that we're doing on a weekly basis. We usually pull that out during Patreon. So if you would like to be a part of Patreon, Patreon.com/agathering144. Now, Elder Lawyer, Let's do the Shema Yasha'Allah one time and jump right in. 1,700 people. That's good enough. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Shema Yasha'Allah Ahaya Alahayanawa Ahaya Akkad.
Shema Yasha'Allah Ahaya Alahayanawa Ahaya Akkad.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. Okay, bless you, brothers and sisters. Let's jump right in. You see the lesson, many shall betray one another, and the betrayal has begun. Okay. Right now, what you see in the media and otherwise is what? You got it. They're cultivating a divisive spirit out there through the media and otherwise, through the campaign that we're witnessing right now. I'm looking at how something happened in another country somewhere, only to lead to our people being at odds with each other. Okay? Christ spoke about this. There's a reason why there's faces looking like mine and lawyers like you are the mouthpiece for division. Anybody that's speaking for what's going on right now are enemies of God. When I say that, anybody that's trying to force our people into something, it's clear that they're paid people to betray our nation. Okay? So take a good look at them. Because when the enemy are done with these people, they're going to throw them in the pit with the rest of the what? Of the what they deem low lives. Mm-hmm. Take a good look at them, because guess what? You'll see them being tumbled down with the rest. We're in a day of betrayal. I'm looking at how they got these mouthpieces on mainstream media television, on sports channels that should be talking about sports, and they're talking about medical crap, trying to demonize a good man. A good man. And I'm going to say it right out. Kyrie Irving is a family man. And they try to demonize him. Why? Because he spent his money for philanthropy to help our people in the inner cities. And they're trying to cut off his livelihood. Why? Because he's using his livelihood to help our people. And guess what? They don't know what to do with that. So instead of the enemy saying it, he'll sit back and put people out there that looks like us with this fake outrage to destroy good people, to cut off livelihood over what? A medical choice. So I wanted to just put my 2 cents on that real quick, that the betrayal has already begun. How do we know? How do the betrayal work? It works with the media, folks. With the media, first cultivating an environment to demonize us. Y'all don't understand the power of the media. They use that first and use our people to start talking about it so that you'll decide in society who's the enemy. Opposed to waking up and realizing that we're in this together. So what the media does, because they usually show the targeted people they're going after by just what you deem regular conversation through media. But it's really shaping an idea of an enemy the citizens and the people should be aware of within what? Your own communities, within your own houses. Mm-hmm. They're shaping the ideas and dividing us. And that's on one front. Anytime you want to say something, Elder, you can jump in.
Yes, sir.
All right. But Christ said we would be here. But that's one level. That's not the level I'm even concentrating on right now. The level I'll be dealing with is the betrayal that Christ spoke about. The betrayal that Christ spoke about, folks. Because you have to understand the components, the psychology of betrayal. It usually starts with fake outrage. Fake outrage. And what it does is the person has an overarching agenda that if you knew, if it was seen, they know, if it was seen, they know that people would actually see them for who they are. So instead of presenting their true intentions, they come with a fake outrage of concern to whip others in a frenzy against who? The person or people they hate. They never come with, you know what? I hate this person, and that's why I'm going against this person. They don't say that. What they'll do is they'll find an issue that most people will agree with and say, well, I see it this way, and I don't know why that person doesn't. Right? That's the spirit of cowardness. These are the people who refuse to confront a situation up front with courage, and they need other people to fight their battles. Folks, that's what's going on right now globally, and it's happening what? On every level, even in people's households. And I'm going to talk, what is this spirit? Well, brothers and sisters, this study today that I put together, is a lot of scriptures here. You'll understand, you'll be able to isolate that spirit when you see it. You'll be able to understand, okay, this is what Christ was talking about. Or the other day, Elder Ricard Shiar went through this lesson. I think what we're experiencing is the same spirit. What is the spirit that leads to betrayal? Another thing before I end, Elder Lawyer, I'm going to talk about also the prophecies of Egypt. At the very end of this, I'm going to talk about the prophecies of Egypt. Folks, putting the cart before the horse just to set things up before the lesson is done. 2009, in the wintertime, I sat down with a few Egyptians overseas. And I'm not talking about the regular Egyptians. I'm talking about people in high positions who have family in high positions, right? Right? And I'm just talking about people because don't forget, I'm going to tell you, when you go into these Middle Eastern countries, everyone is family. There's not a family that don't have someone in the police or military or politics. Everyone is related there. Okay? And I spoke to someone, and I'm sitting there and we're eating bread, and I had a little wine in front of me at the time, and we talking, and this is a very plugged in guy. He has a business here in the United States. And his business was that he would deliver clothes and stuff for Goodwill in the United States. All right. Egyptian. He says to me, I'm sitting down. He says, right now, the Egyptians are really tearing their hair out. He's speaking of the government. He says a lot of people tearing their hair out. And I'm like, so what's going on? I'm sitting there listening. And he says, Israel, he says the state of Israel or Israel is planning to build a dam in Ethiopia. I don't know if you were there, Elder Lawyer. Were you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I didn't know if Elder Lawyer was there because he can confirm this conversation. Mm-hmm. He said that it seems like there's talk within these governments where Israel is trying to collude with Ethiopia to build a dam. And he says if they build this dam, it's going to stop the flow of water into the Nile River. He says all of our businesses depend on the Nile River. And if that river dries up, Egypt is going to war. Now, folks, Now think about this. Why do the Most High have me in a room overseas in the Middle East with them talking geopolitically of what's going on in 2009? And I'm sitting there listening. At the same time it's happening, my mind, my head is about to explode because I'm looking at the Bible and I said, you know what? In my mind, I'm saying this is Bible prophecy. Before I went overseas, the Bible spoke of the Nile River drying up. And I'm sitting in a room listening to this. And like, the Most High have me here. He have me here in this room. In this room. I'm going to show you what's going to happen in Egypt. I'm going to show you at the end of this lesson. And when I talk about betrayal, the betrayal has already begun. It has already begun. It started a long time ago, folks. I'm going to talk about that, what's going to happen in Egypt according to the Bible. But they cannot say that the gospel wasn't there. And I'll tell you this. There will be a highway coming out of Egypt for those people. I'm talking about millions and millions of people that are over there. Millions upon millions. It's one of the most populated cities in Africa. There will be a highway made for a few, according to the Bible's geography. So I'll be talking about that. It blew my mind, Elder Lawyer, sitting in that room. This guy said he sat with diplomats and they're going off because there's a plan in 2009 to build a dam to cut off the Nile River. And then I look up and look on the news, and guess what's being built? What was discussed in a small room in 2009, and I'm sitting there as a fly in the wall hearing this. And it's happening right now. Hey. And afterwards, I talked to him, one-on-one, and I said, that's Bible prophecy. And they always see me. Even they recognize me because we walk around with Mitris or whatever the case is, and they knew something was different about us. And and one thing he says, Ricard, you must be wise. There's a lot of people watching, a lot of people looking, and y'all are different. Be wise. And I said to him, it's Bible prophecy. The God of Israel had us travel here. And even in Muslim countries, all over the earth, the places we travel, there's not a place that we went that will not embrace us. There's people in all these places that will embrace us in the future, even in Muslim countries. That's the impact carrying the Spirit of Christ and this word has. Okay? And I'm going to be talking about that at the end of this lesson. But let's go in, Elder Lawyer. Let's go to Matthew 24. Matthew 24. Many shall betray one another.
Yes, sir. Matthew chapter 24.
Now, what leads one to betrayal? What leads one to betrayal? Let's find out. Let's go, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. Matthew chapter 24, verse number 7.
Yeah.
For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom.
Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. So you have to see politically how they're shaping this. This is why mainstream media has gotten behind what? Individual plights within society to politicize everything. This is why. This is why you have agents talking about stop Asian hate. This is why you have black people talking about Black Lives Matter and that stupidity that comes with that particular group. This is why you have trans lives matter or whatever the case is. This is a political divide so that what? Every person with the personal plight, every group would have political enemies they hate. Automatically, the governments of the earth have divided the citizens of the earth based off of what? Personal ideologies. Right? Personal sexual preferences. Right? This is what they do. So they shape a narrative in a free world to have everyone see others outside of themselves as an enemy. That's divide and conquer. Like, for instance, I'm going to show you how ridiculous this thing is. There's laws on the books for criminality. If someone commit a crime, there's laws to prosecute people for breaking the law. It doesn't matter what your race or your sexual persuasions are. It doesn't matter. If you break the law, no matter what it is, you're tried for that crime. Now, I'm putting that out there to say this. And just using, since I said Asian hate as an example. If an Asian right now I'm walking down the street and the Asian was to push me to the ground, and I get up and deal with him like he will get dealt with, can the police come and say, well, hold up, this is crime, this is Asian hate. Now I'm being tried outside of the law, outside of my rights? Huh? Is that what we're doing now? Could it be that an agent can do anything to me, but if I push back, I can get tried under another law separate from the law that governs us all? The cop will come and say, that's Asian hate. Somebody filmed it because the black person defended himself against an Asian. I'm prosecuted on not just a regular law, but on another law created politically. That's how crazy this stuff has become. Where there's no one, that the people cannot retaliate against those who are harming them. That's why these laws are constructed. So when you see a protected group where they say stop anti this and stop anti that, understand they're putting that forward so that you could recognize the groups you can't retaliate against if they are selling you or attacking you. That's all it is. Whatever group they put up there, know that's the political group that's destroying you. Why? Because we all should be protected under the same law, regardless of our race. Right? But obviously they see something coming down the pipeline where when the people begin to wake up, they're going to push back against these same protected groups. So they're putting laws in place to do what? To criminalize those who retaliate against them. That's on the political level. So I wanted to put that out there real quick. There shouldn't be no special laws for special people if we're all under the same constitution and laws. You should be tried under the laws or the country's laws you are a citizen of. That's it. Black people shouldn't have no special protection. Asian people shouldn't have no special protection. Jewish people shouldn't have no special protection. You're protected under the laws you're paying taxes to the country for. Gays shouldn't have no special protection. So that's on the political side. And if anyone commit crimes against any of these groups, that's against the law, they should be tried according to what? The state penal code of that particular state. That's it. No one should have special protections outside of the law we're paying our taxes for. We're paying our taxes to protect us under those laws. That's it. I want to put that out there. Read that again.
For nation shall rise against nation.
And what we're seeing is a cultivating of what? Of the societies of this world, the controllers dividing the people on purpose. Christ said this would happen. Read.
And kingdom against kingdom.
Empire against empire.
And there shall be famine and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places.
Here are signs that Christ said that we, as his people, would witness before a judgment, before his return. Signs of him coming. Read.
All these are the beginning of sorrows.
All these are the beginning of sorrows. Read.
Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake.
They shall deliver you up to be afflicted. See? That's what we're seeing right now through the media and all that. They're just delivering us up. They're setting the stage where a law-abiding citizen who's actually taking care of his family can be still deemed an enemy. Can still be deemed evil. This is how crazy this thing has become. Because of something that might not even be in me. It could be, I'm not even sick. So what everyone is talking about is not even in me, but yet I'm still a problem to other people because I don't want to do what they're telling me to do. What sense does that make? This is how they're delivering good people up. By demonizing you about something you can't control. You're not a criminal. You're not harming no one. All you're doing is trying to take care of your family, and you're still an enemy because why? You don't agree with the medical procedure. So that's enough for them to take the livelihood from good people who's actually an asset to society. I wondered how they were going to attack good people who aren't doing anything wrong at all. They're setting the stage with this, folks. Where now we see our regular people that we would normally embrace as an enemy, as a disease. Read on.
Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake.
And you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Folks, what's going on? What's going on in the earth today is an attack on those who believe in God. Who believe in specific in Christ. You shall be hated of all races. A nation is a race. For my name's sake, you're going to stand on me. See, and this is why when all this stuff came out, they started talking about, well, you can have this exemption or religious exemptions. Why would they even invoke the option of religious exemptions if they didn't know ahead of time that believers would examine what's going on and understand that we're living in a prophetic time? They knew that those that's looking at this Bible would say, well, hold up, I have nothing to do with none of this. In 2019, I was fine, and I'm feeling the same way I felt in 2019. I'm feeling the same way now as I felt in 2019. I'm perfectly healthy. So religious people are going to start looking at this and saying, well, hold up, something doesn't smell right here. Are they attacking us sideways through the back door simply because they hate us and using these campaigns and all this stuff as proxy to hide under while attacking those they hate based on our beliefs in Christ? Are they using the doctors and all this other stuff out there as a smokescreen to attack those they wanted the opportunity to attack? Believers. See, and I'm showing you an example of how betrayal happens, folks. It's usually another overarching agenda, but they'll use something else to throw you off. It happens like that on every level. This is how serpents, how snakes operate. Finish reading.
And if I can mention as well, notice how the Bible eliminates all of the confusion. As you were mentioning earlier, you have all of these political ideologies and these personal ideologies in which people are aligning themselves with and stating that I'm being hated because I'm black. I'm being hated because I'm white. I'm hated because I'm Chinese. I'm hated because I'm gay or trans. When the Bible says that the true hatred would come against those who actually believe in Christ.
Exactly. There is no campaign in the earth, Elder Lawyer. I'm glad you brought that out. There's no political constituency anywhere defending those who believe in Christ. Mm-hmm. Stop those who believe. Stop that hate. Stop Christ hate.
Right.
Where's that group? Stop the hatred against Bible believers. Where's that group?
That's
right. Great point. Read.
Verse 10. And then shall many be offended and shall betray one another and shall hate one another. I'll read that again.
Read it again.
And then shall many be offended and shall betray one another.
That's the key, folks. Before betrayal is an offense. So someone just doesn't wake up and say, you know what? I'm going to betray someone I once respected or loved. It doesn't happen that way. An event happened. A circumstance happened that caused a person to have an ought with another person. But instead of them being truthful and say, I was hurt and didn't deal with that hurt, they'll conceal it as if nothing happened so that Satan can use that spirit later for that same brother or sister to betray those who they're supposed to be with and care and love. See? This is how it happens. Many shall be offended. Right? Offended. Here's an example. I like to break scriptures down with examples that most can relate to, right? There's a father who's a preacher, been a Baptist minister for many years, right? He's losing many people in his church because the majority of the men are now online realizing that modern day Christianity doesn't have anything to do with Christ. He's still a good man, still teaching what he learned under Jesuit theology. But then his son grows up to realize, I respect you, Dad, and I love you, but I'm an Israelite. Not according to what I learned online. When I read the Bible, Deuteronomy 28th chapter tells me the reason we're in this condition in America under white people and other races of people is because we broke God's law. Father, I love the moral sense that you've placed on me and have grown me into a man. But Dad, I cannot continue to walk the way you're walking because what you're teaching is against God's law. You're teaching our people in the community to go against the laws of the Bible. You're telling them it's okay to break God's law under grace, and I disagree. I'm an Israelite, and with being an Israelite comes what? Accountability. I'm accountable to the laws in the Bible, Dad, and I can no longer be in this church if you're going to continue to teach our people who are suffering in the communities that it's okay to continue down the path they're going. Look at our communities since you've been teaching grace. You only give our people an open door, an open pathway to choose wrong. So the son sound logical, practical, everything he's saying is true, but the father is offended. I'm your father. You wouldn't know the Bible if it wasn't for me. So then an opportunity comes. Even though he didn't say that at his son and say, listen, I'm hurt. Can you please teach and help me? Why? Because the Bible says through the mouth of babes, I'll speak to my people. The father should have known the last shall be first and the first shall be last and the last shall be first. The father should have known that his son would one day be able to teach him. If you raise your son, he's supposed to become what? Even greater than you. Because what's bestowed in him is your knowledge that would create a better version of you. So it's not a competition. It's not a fight. Your son have now built on that foundation instilled in him by you. But the father is offended. So all of a sudden, a plague happens in the earth. And the son is looking at it like, well, no, this is division, Father. I'm not going to do anything and put anything in my body against God. And the father is saying, you see what's going on the news. People are dying, this, that, and the other. But deep in his heart, here's an opportunity for that father, this man of God, to put his son out of the house and have the full excuse to do so. You might have a disease in you and you're walking around here like nothing is going on. Get out of my house. Get out of my house. Mm-hmm. When really, it wasn't about the plague that happened in 2020. It's what happened a few years before then when the son said, Dad, I can no longer follow the God you serve. Many shall be offended. See, the offense justifies that person's betrayal. In their own minds, they don't see it as betrayal. They're just looking for an opportunity without saying what the true issue was there, to put someone out or to betray them, throw them in the streets, or to be killed altogether. So what comes first? The offense. The offense comes first. And instead of and pride won't allow people to say, you know what? I'm hurt. That's why I'm doing this. Pride won't allow them to say, well, I felt hurt in this instance. You know why pride won't allow them? Because if they did that, they would have to what? Reconcile. They would actually have to examine their part in it. See? First, there's the offense, then there's the betrayal. Read it again, Elder Lawyer.
Verse 10, and then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another.
And shall hate one another. Read.
And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many.
And shall deceive many. When it talks about false prophets, it's talking about leaders, folks. People in prominent positions and priestly positions will arise through all this and deceive many people. Deceive many people into what? The wrong decisions. The wrong decisions. When we should be what? Focused on the prophet, the teacher, the Messiah, Christ. So the false prophets are all those who are against what Christ is breaking down right now, what he's saying. Mm-hmm. False prophets isn't open to individual interpretation. What Christ is saying here is, I'm giving you the signs of my coming. Anyone teach outside of this is a false prophet. Quite simple. In context, this is Christ breaking down his coming. So he says, listen, I'm going to lay it out for you, what our people in the future need to look forward to, or to look into and know the difference between me and the false prophets. When there's any political agenda or anything moving, they're not my Messiah. I'm not being politically pressured to do anything under an established power that we know is controlled through Satanists. You got something, Mother Lawyer?
Yes, sir. Just real quick on that point.
Come on.
Deuteronomy 18, verse 18. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren like unto thee, and I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which I shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. But the prophet that shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die.
Even that prophet shall die. To show you the prophet we must listen to is Christ.
That's right.
Because, folks, y'all, I'm going to break something down to have y'all understand it on every level when it comes to priests and prophets. Modern day doctors today, if they were living during the Egyptian era, they would be considered priest. Priest. And that's the component people don't understand. These doctors that are coming up with all this stuff, back in Egyptian time when we were in Egypt, would be considered Egyptian priests under the house of Potiphar. He was a priest, where they would mix medicines and herbs and all that for healing. And they would also operate when it came to what? Inventions and all those other areas to progress society. So you have to realize when you hear what's going on out there, those are the words of a priesthood. Those are suggestions and all that under a priesthood, folks. It's spiritual. We only follow one prophet. Everyone else on the outside of that, including their doctors, are false prophets. Okay? And how do you know that? How do you know that? In order to do that, you must take an oath. You must actually take an oath to become a priest to actually practice medicine. What are you take an oath for? An oath is religious. That's a religious pact. The Hippocratic Oath. It's a priesthood. So I just wanted to tell y'all that real quick, even though wasn't going down that way, right?
Not to mention as well, how many times have they tried to prophesy on your life and tell you, many of you sitting here right before us this day have been told you have 2 weeks to live. You have 6 weeks to live. You have 12 months to live. And here you are 5 years later from that false prophecy watching this video. 3 years from that false prophecy. 5 years from the false prophecy watching this video.
Man, I'm glad you brought that out. To show you how far our people have fallen from the grace of the Almighty and the belief in our God. We're asking a mere man, Doc, how long do I have? Think about that, folks. Hey, Doc, I need you to save my family. Just save my family. So think of a mere man, just how this must be totally blowing this man's head up. Where mere people are looking at him as if he's a god, as if he's the Most High. Doc, how long do you think I got to live? And if he tell you, well, usually about 3-4 months, he've become the prophet now. He's the prophet. Think about that. And I've had, matter of fact, I'm going to save that for a different discussion because I want to keep it here. But come on.
Reading on.
Science is a religion. Yes. It's a religion in of itself, but what they're doing is they're trying to reverse things around to tell you that there's a separation between church and state because science is only what they can prove, which makes it more practical and real. Not only that, why would you try to play science against belief? That's a contradiction in of itself. Because even after you try to heal and do something for a person in the hospital, how many times the doctors say, well, listen, only thing we can do is wait at this point. Is he going to live? Well, I don't know. So in order for you to have any hope in the matter to get you through this, you must believe that an outside force is going to help you with this. I didn't mean to go into the science thing because I'm going entirely different. I want to go into the psychology. The psychology of one who turns up to be a betrayer. It starts with a person who's offended. Or, another thing, folks, or they have an objective to get something that leads to an offense. If you recognize they're moving in an agenda, they'll get offended. We're going to show you the spirit that leads to betrayal. Elder Lawyer, let's go to John. Matter of fact, let's go to, let's get it here. Matthew 10 and 21. Matthew 10 and 21.
St. Matthew chapter 10, verse number 21.
Read.
And brother shall deliver up the brother to death.
A brother, it's going to come to a point, brothers and sisters, where people that came out of the same mother and father, out of the womb of the same mother, will deliver up their own brother to death. to death. And family members too. I don't even want to go into some of the phone calls that I've gotten where people that made the wrong decision out of their mind, believing what's out there. Where I had to tell them, if you don't follow my directions right now, say goodbye to the one you love. Okay? And guess what happens? 100 times out of 100, batting 1,000, when I shook them out of their psychosis and they followed what I said, their loved one is home, fully healthy. So when you fall under the psychology and the psychosis, getting inundated under Satan's world, eventually under this hypnosis will lead to you losing your own family, with you becoming an accomplice. And I didn't do anything special or great. Only thing I did was bring common sense and logic as a component to be used when making decisions, life or death decisions. That's all I did. Many shall what? Read.
And the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child, and the children shall rise up against their parents.
And the children shall rise up against their parents. Folks, this is why they wanted to start new agendas in schools. Starting with what? Kindergarten, teaching alternative lifestyles and sexual different. They want to teach our children there's no such thing as what? Male and female, as the Bible stated. So when you start bringing up children with this, I would say, inordinate view on the earth, these children will be trained to go against their parents in these re-educational centers that they call school. When the majority of time your children in school is about the medical and the indoctrination. So we should have seen where society was going, where they would tell your child, well, you can't learn unless they get a medical treatment. So they're going to start programming these children to believe that they're smarter than their own parents. And it's going to lead to much death, folks. They've already started this. Read.
And the children shall rise up against their parents and cause them to be put to death.
And shall cause their own parents to be put to death. You can bet your bottom line that when your children go to school, they'll be asked by the counselor or the school witch or psychologist or the nurse or even the teacher who's emotionally unstable. And they're going to start prying in on whether or not your mother or father took the treatment. To try to use the institution, which is a government institution that you think is school, to influence a household that you're financially providing for. Christ said this would happen, folks. And I see it right now. People are going against their own family right now. And Christ said this would happen. Come on.
22. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake.
Same thing as he said in Matthew 24. Because you're standing with the Bible and saying, listen, because I don't want to engage in this insanity that changes every day where no one can put two and two together. Because I'm standing on the confidence of common sense, as well as my belief in Christ. Because you're standing on your word and saying, well, listen, I'm cool. I'm going to see how all of this shake out. You're hated. Not because you've actually harmed someone. Because you're not including yourself in this confusion. Read.
And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth until the end, the same shall be saved.
But he that endure unto the end. Christ is saying those true believers stand pat. You are not to be moved by none of this. This whole confusion is for the crazies who've always believed in this world and have trusted in this world opposed to what? Christ's world that's coming with him. All this confusion is for them. Only somebody crazy can make sense of this crazy. We'll be like, well, okay. But, okay, I got, okay, so if someone get the stuff, they can still pass it on to you. Well, yeah. Well, yeah, you can pass it on to me. Yeah. Okay, so why do you feel that if I was to get a medical treatment, that it would be better for you? If I can still get the disease and you can get sick and die from it? Well, they didn't tell me how to answer that question. CNN or the mainstream didn't give me the answer to that. I'll get back with you and see what they say. See? Read on.
Verse number 23. But when they persecute you in this city, flee ye into another.
That's because they're going to be persecuting us. So here's a sign. When you see the campaigns over this earth that's concentrating on certain areas of the earth where the majority of the people have become crazy and are pressing, actually joining people in their zombie army to come against the righteous because that's their overall plan at the end of the day, you have to start thinking about another location where the laws isn't that stringent. That's what Christ is saying. So there will be some moving based on the pressure. And that moving will move us all the way to the wilderness. This is how it's going to happen, folks. When you shall see a certain city where they're pressing the numbers, and now you see people in your neighborhood dying, and now you are being affected by it, it's like, well, hold up. Isn't it what Christ said? So let me start under a level of what? Now, there's no excuse for rogue activity as an excuse to go someplace. Nah. Getting under some level of guidance to get outside of harm's way. Right? Finish reading.
But when they persecute you in this city, flee ye into another.
Common sense.
For verily I say unto you, ye shall not have gone over the cities of Israel till the Son of Man be come.
Come on.
The disciple is not above his master.
And then you notice he's speaking within the confine of what? The structure of his church, starting with the disciples. There's no individual move because, oh, well, it happened over here, so I had to do this and grab some people over here. Nah, it ain't talking about that. There's no individual movement based on panic and chaos. And those that roll like that are going to be destroyed anyway. So you might as well just stay where you are. If you're operating in panic without true guidance, you're going to be destroyed. And I'm going to show that in this lesson too. Elder Lawyer, go down to the 35th verse, 35 and 36.
Yes, sir. Verse number 35. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother.
He says, I'm doing this now. Now, why did Christ say he's doing this? Because he's instilling the knowledge of himself in one of those individuals in that house. And through that, he knows that that person that believes in him will be attacked by the rest of the house. He says, but I'm doing that. There should be two in the field. I'll take one. There'll be some working in the mill, and I'll take one. So he know by giving us this truth through his Holy Spirit that it will mean the zombies in the home will eventually turn on the righteous. He know it. He said it. Read.
For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law.
Is that not happening right now, folks? Is this not happening right now? Read.
And a man's foes shall be they of his own household.
And a man's foes shall be they of his own household. Now, what's important when it comes to this spirit that destroys and divides families, understand that if that spirit isn't, I'm going to use the word they say, exorcise that demon or destroy or cast, if that demon isn't cast out, that thing is going to rear its ugly head at the most opportune time when it's a matter of life or death. When it says your foes, your enemies shall be they of your own household. Understand whatever that is will resurface in a life or death moment. See? Read.
He that loveth father or mother more than me.
And that's what it comes down to. Christ is saying, well, listen, you may have to choose me over those in your household. Be ready to do that or go down with them. Read it again.
He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me.
Is not worthy of me. I've given you the knowledge on how to navigate through Satan's science and his psychology that's killing my people. I've given you the knowledge to not to listen to these devils. So it's going to come a time when you got to choose him over your own loved ones and not join the lynch mob which crucified Christ. Everyone in that mob, it was almost a holy day. Everyone celebrating and coming together saying, let's get rid of this guy. Everyone that wanted to kill Christ felt justified at the time. Because why? That's what everyone was talking about. That was the crowd. Mm-hmm. The crowd demonized him publicly. And guess what? No one defended him. Because why? Hey, this is what everyone was saying. All these people can't be wrong. Can they? Every last person that was behind dragging and killing Christ and spitting on him and mocking him in their minds felt justified because why? The majority was saying what the evildoers were putting out about him were true. Mm-hmm. The rumors and all that, everyone started to believe the rumors. And if they can do this to Christ, brothers and sisters, what chance do we have? Well, we'll allow the media and others to stir up a lynch mob where now you are going against the same people, the only people who will be able to protect you when they come after you. Finish reading.
Verse number 37.
Come on.
He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me.
Now, I'm going to take a short break and we're going to come right back with Judas. The offense that led to Judas betraying Christ. And when you see this, folks, hey, look at what we're showing today objectively and put yourself in either position, folks. That's right. I'm going to ask you to view this from Christ's position and Judas's position. Because what? In Judas's mind, he had every reason to do what he did. But it wasn't until he seen Christ crucified that he realized the gravity of his choices. Coming right back. That's right. Many shall betray one another. Hold tight. The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that he used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy. You're invited. Okay, we're coming in with part 2. All praises be to the Most High. I'm glad you've all joined us. Please hit the like button. We have over 3,000 in. And let me make another announcement. We do have the Hebrew and Bible Academy coming October 31st. You are invited. We have brand new lessons, including finding the Ark of the Covenant, the Israelites' time in the wilderness. That's right, the tribulation in the wilderness. How we was able to get thrust out of a vibrant society and had to fend by ourselves, okay, as a nation. What happened in the wilderness? Why? That's going to happen again, okay? We're going to also go into the fallen angels and break down what? The truth concerning aliens and UFOs. And we're going to show beyond any shadow of a doubt that the angels, the fallen angels, were in the earth before Adam and Eve. Okay? They were in the earth, operating in the earth before Adam and Eve. And I'll be going into that and more. And I'm working on a lesson. I don't know if it's completely finished because I really wanted to break down Judaism, the true core beliefs within Judaism. Okay, what do they really believe? What do the Jewish people really believe? Because they would have us believe that they believe in the Torah. So I'm still working on that. I don't know whether or not I covered that. If that lesson is finished by the time the academy starts, then I'll include that too. But I'm going to ask you all to become a part of the Hebrew Bible Academy, which starts October 31st. If this interests you, here's the link, historytimes.org. Please enroll. Okay? historytimes.org. All right? We'll be right back, and we're going into, that's right, Judas, the spirit of Judas. Many shall betray one another. Hold tight.
I was on my way, felt the presence of your son every day. Every day, I let go of your hand, and now I feel a change. Close the door, fall to my knees, and I began to pray. Oh, help me, the cares of the world slowly pulling me away. Now I hear a voice calling me to the light, to the light. Still in the heart, so I'll discern wrong from right, wrong from right. A metaphor in the road, which way should I go? Which way to go? My Father sent the Spirit, help me find, come save me. Bible fell on the floor and open to the law, and I can't believe what I saw. I saw me sinning willfully. I won't break your law no more. Send your son, please open the door. Open back to me. Oh Father, please forgive me. I hear a voice calling me to the light, to the light. Still in a heart, so I know wrong from right, wrong from right. I'm at a fork in the road. Which way should I go? Which way to go? My Father sent the Spirit, help me find, come save me. Oh, higher, shine down on me. I'm one of your sons of Jacob. Lord, I believe.
All right. All right. Let's jump right in. Let's jump. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Let's jump right in. Let's go straight into Judas. Because most people don't know the spirit that would lead to a man or woman betraying Christ. Now, why am I putting that out there? Because many of us, if we were to go back there, we would look at that elder lawyer and say, I don't know about Judas, but I definitely could not have done something like that. In our minds, we'll look at Judas and say, that could have never been me, right? I would have never did that to Christ. Mm-hmm. Well, Christ says, if you do this to the least of my little ones, you've done it unto me. So now we have to understand the spirit of betrayal. What offense happened that led to, that's right, Judas betraying our Lord and Savior? Let's get the alabaster box real quick. Let's get it. Right? Let's go to John 6, right? And get the alabaster box in Matthew, right? One moment. Let's get Matthew 26, Elder Lawyer. I'm going to show y'all how this happened, folks. Let's go to Matthew 26 and 6.
St. Matthew chapter 26, verse number 6. Now when Yeshua was in Bethany, in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat.
So here it is, a woman came with precious ointments that were worth, folks, I mean, you talking about intrinsic value. Everyone knew the worth and the value of this alabaster box and the stuff that was in it. Okay? Read.
There came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it upon his head as he sat at meat.
Come on.
But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying,
saying,
to what purpose is this waste?
To what purpose is this waste? How can you waste? How can you waste all of this rich oil on just one man? Now, these are his disciples, right? These are his disciples, folks. Now, a lot of you may think it's just 12. No, there was many of them that were under the 12. Read it again.
But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, to what purpose is this waste?
Come on.
For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor.
And given to the what?
And given to the poor.
So what they will make you believe, well, guess what? And I believe that these disciples genuinely had a concern here. I believe they genuinely had a concern. Because who wouldn't side with using the money to help poor people? To help the children who may have need. The poor that's homeless. So genuinely, brothers and sisters, on the surface, it seems as if they have what? A legitimate gripe. And see, this is what I'm saying, folks. When someone usually stir up a lynch mob against someone, they come under the guise of caring for others. They come under the guise of caring for others. As if Christ didn't know about the poor and the suffering, right? So it's the disciples with the moral high ground over Christ now, right? They're going to tell Christ what he should do, as if he doesn't care for the people. Folks, now in this verse, we see the disciples disgruntled. What we're not seeing here is who stirred them up. See? They didn't just come to this conclusion on their own. They were stirred up and was used like crash test dummies to come against Christ, because the coward, the one who really was behind this, didn't have the courage to say what he really wanted to do with that money. So there was an agenda outside of that. But he wanted, in order for him to steer the sentiments his way, speaking of Judas, he had to make the disciples believe that Christ was wrong so that he could get his hands on that box. Mm-hmm. Let's read it real quick, Elder Lawyer. Let's get that. Let's get John 12:1.
Yes, sir. St. John 12, verse 1.
Read.
Then 6 days before the Passover, then Yeshua, 6 days before the Passover, came to Bethany, where Lazarus was, which had been dead, whom he raised from the dead.
Come on.
There they made him a supper, and Martha served, but Lazarus was one of them that sat at the table with him. Then took Mary a pound of ointment of spikenard, very costly.
This is it, the same alabaster box.
And anointed the feet of Yeshua, and wiped his feet with her hair, and the house was filled with the odor of the ointment.
Come on.
Then saith one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot.
Who?
Judas Iscariot.
Who?
Judas Iscariot.
Judas Iscariot. Read.
Simon's son, which should betray him. Why was not this ointment sold for 300 pence and given to the poor?
Why wasn't this sold for 300 pence and given to the poor? It was one man stirring up the disciples against Christ. These were his sentiments first. Now, this is how people will come to you. Well, I'm just looking out for the people. Because that person there, even though that person is okay, I'm letting you know that it should be used for this. But finish reading, Elder Lawyer.
Verse 6. This he said, not that he cared for the poor.
Not that he what?
Not that he cared for the poor.
Read.
But because he was a thief.
Because he was a thief. Read.
And had the bag and bare what was put therein.
He had the bag and bear what was put therein. That's right. Judas was over Christ's treasury. So when he seen that oil come in, he already had what? He already had in his mind who he could sell it to and benefit off of it from. It had nothing to do with the poor. But can he tell the disciples that he's a thief and he really wants the money for himself and he've already negotiated the money? No, he can't do that. But in order for him to get the money, he must convince those who trust and love Christ that something is wrong with him. See? That's how it started. He was offended because why? Not because of the poor, because he had his own agenda for the money. And folks, even in this work, I've seen this spirit over and over and over again, where people will target the impressionable and have them believe something when really it's about getting something from them. But you need to separate them from who? The people they trust first. The people they care for first. So you must throw out some negative, or you must do what? Try to soil someone's reputation so that what? You can get what you think they're getting. Same spirit. Same spirit. Read it again.
Yes, sir. Verse number 6.
Yes.
This he said, not that he cared for the poor, but because he was a thief and had the bag.
Because he was a thief and had the bag.
And bare what was put therein.
And bear what was put therein. So the first offense is, brothers and sisters, you have to watch. You have to watch what? When someone is murmuring about something on the outside of the person they're privately crucifying or questioning. That's what you have to look at. Because this person agenda isn't on the surface what they're saying. They already have a plan in their mind on what the outcome they want with the same people. But they can't say that. That's the spirit of Judas. Elder Lawyer. Now, you went down to the 8th verse?
No, sir.
Let's read it all the way to the 8th verse.
Verse 7. Then said Yeshaiah, let her alone. Against the day of my burying hath she kept this. For the poor always ye have with you, but me ye have not always.
It says, listen, this is for my burial. You're going to have the poor with you. There's going to always be the poor out there to take care of. But she's preparing me to die for you. So carnally, what were they looking at? How can you waste all of that money on that man? Carnal. Not realizing that the Most High was preparing that man to die for all of these ungrateful people. Elder Lawyer, now let's get John 6 and 58.
St. John chapter 6 verse number 58.
Come on.
This is that bread which came down from heaven, not as your fathers did eat manna, and are dead. He that eateth of this bread shall live forever.
It says, read that again.
This is that bread which came down from heaven.
Christ says, this is that bread that came down from heaven. What bread? What bread? Elder Lawyer, hold that and get Exodus 16 and 15. And brothers and sisters, and I'm saying this outright, when y'all see stuff out there where they're trying to soil people and do certain things, know that they have an overarching agenda that's evil. It's not what they're saying, or they would be doing what we're doing. And I'm putting that right out there. If their intentions were honest, they wouldn't have to speak about anyone else. They would just do the work. No, I'm just trying to help people. There's a lot of things I know that y'all don't know. You're speaking to a devil. Let's read it, Elder Lawyer. Let's go to St. John 6 and 58. Let's go.
He's doing Exodus.
Get Exodus first, yeah.
Exodus 16 verse 15.
Read.
And when the children of Israel saw it, they said one unto another, it is manna.
It is what?
It is manna.
That's the manna that came down from heaven to feed our forefathers, the children of Israel, in the wilderness. When they seen it come down, it was like snow. They said, this is manna. Read.
It says, for they wist not what it was. And Moses said unto them, this is the bread which the Lord hath given you to eat.
This is the bread that Yeshaiah, that the Most High have given you to eat. So now Christ in the spirit is standing before the disciples saying what? John 6 and 58 again.
St. John 6 and 58. This is that bread which came down from heaven.
He says, I'm that bread that came down from heaven. Read.
Not as your fathers did eat manna and are dead. He that eateth of this bread shall live forever.
He that eateth of this bread shall live forever. This is greater bread. Even though I rained manna during the time of Moses, this bread. Read that last piece again, Elder Lawyer.
He says, not as your fathers did eat manna and are dead. He that eateth of this bread shall live forever.
Shall live forever. And that's why in the communion, we break the bread and say, this is the body of Christ.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
This is the body of Christ. And through that, we are agreeing not to deny Christ's body like Judas did. See? Because Judas was at the table partaking in. He partook of that bread, that manna, at Christ's Last Supper. So that's the agreement we make within ourselves. when we break that bread, that we will not betray one another. Because the world is in betrayal. And we will not be used inwardly to destroy the only voices out there of reason and truth that's guiding people to the light of Christ, to Christ's kingdom. Let's go back to John, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir.
Verse.
John 6:59.
Yeah.
These things said he in the synagogue as he taught in Capernaum.
So he taught this in the synagogue. He's telling the Pharisees and all that. Now, all of them are reading the Torah and know what manna is, know what that bread is. And it was like, yo, this guy, what type of doctrine is he teaching? Is he greater than Moses? Read.
Many therefore of his disciples, when they heard this, said, "This is an hard saying."
Even the disciples were saying amongst themselves, I don't know if I can get down with what Christ is saying here. Mm-hmm. Like, he's a great teacher, but I don't know if I'm feeling this doctrine he's saying when he's claiming that he was the bread that fed our people in Egypt. I mean, in the wilderness. Read.
This is an hard saying. Who can hear it? When Yeshua knew in himself that the disciples murmured at it.
So they did what?
They murmured at it.
See, they was amongst themselves. Murmuring. See? So they was amongst themselves saying, man, I don't know about this guy. And whenever you see something like that, a serpent is operating. Because Christ is right there. If you had an issue with him, you could have spoken to him. But no, you're trying to convince other people into your unbelief, into your skepticism, into your concerns. And you're trying to make your concerns other people's concerns. That's murmuring. That's murmuring. Read it.
When Yeshua knew in himself that his disciples murmured at it, he said unto them, "Doeth this offend you?"
He says, do this offend you that I'm the bread that came down from heaven? Do y'all have a problem with that? Now, mind you, Christ already said, many shall be offended. And what comes after the offense? Betrayal. Come on.
What and if ye shall see the Son of Man ascend where he was before?
What if you see me ascend to where I was before? In Acts, the first chapter, they seen Christ ascend into heaven, folks. Mm-hmm. He says, guess what? I came down from heaven. I was that bread. And to prove that, after I'm dead and witness unto you, you'll see me ascending into the clouds to be back with my Father. Read.
63. It is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing.
The flesh profiteth nothing. And he was letting them know, disciples, there's still much you have to learn. You're still judging everything through your carnal views. You're carnal. No one have to satisfy every concern you have. You are the student. You are to learn what it takes to get from here to ascension. From the flesh to the spirit. So we had the disciples who thought they knew more. We had Judas who thought he knew more, but really he was a thief. These are all the components that operates under the guise of truth today. See? Finish reading.
It is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. But there are some of you that believe not.
There's some of you that believe not.
For Yeshua knew from the beginning who they were that believed not and who should betray him.
Because there was people amongst them, folks, that he knew would give him up and kill him. So everybody that come through and say they're of the truth and say they're an Israelite, folks, guess what, folks? What is that worth? Christ said, ye that endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. You know a man off of his actions and his endurance. not based on how much knowledge he has out of the Bible or the Torah or the Tanakh. Because the Pharisees and scribes had way more knowledge of the law than we do today. See? It was even people amongst Christ standing there. Amen. And yeah, man, this dude is deep, man. Oh, yeah, you see what he dropped? That was actually with them next to him. And he knew these were the same people that came in, not because of him, because of what they thought they can get out of being amongst him. See? And because you cannot deny the truth, you don't want to be the odd guy out. So you're just a hanger-on or a groupie. So this is why they hated Christ, because you know why? Christ can actually see into the hearts of men. They didn't like that, where Christ knew your intentions. See, but we don't know their intentions. We don't know people's intentions. So earnestly, when they come amongst us, we must receive them as pure, regardless of their intentions. But their actions eventually show us who they are according to Christ's walk. Mm-hmm. If they begin to not confront or be honest with you straight up, but they'll talk about you amongst someone else, we have those examples of who those people are. They're enemies of the faith. I don't care how much Bible they read and how much they claim they're Israelites and all that, or believe in Christ. They're enemies of Christ's work. Finish reading of the Lord all the way down to 71.
Yes, sir. Verse 65. And he said, Therefore said I unto you, that no man can come unto me except it were given unto him of my Father.
One moment. Turn the sound down.
Yes, sir.
Sorry about that. Read the last piece again, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. Verse 65. And he said, Therefore said I unto you, that no man can come unto me, except it were given unto him of my Father. From that time...
No man can come unto you, unless it was given to you by my Father. And this is what people have a hard time deciphering or understanding. We expected in our time that the truth would come through institutionalized religion. That's what we thought. We thought that the truth was in our churches. And we can't even perceive that the Most High would send men with truth at the very end. It's just outlandish to some people. It's too hard to actually swallow. That the Most High would actually send men. With no agendas, with no nothing, just men to teach the truth of Christ's kingdom. That's too high for people to even accept. It's unbelievable in this day and time. And even Christ says, read that last piece again.
And he said, Therefore said I unto you, that no man can come unto me, except it were given unto him of my Father.
Come on.
From that time, many of his disciples went back and walked no more with him.
And at that point, many of the disciples, because it was more than 12, said, you know what? I'm good. I can't walk with this guy. His doctrine is way different than Pharisees, scribes. He's claiming that he's something greater than what we believe according to the Bible. And guess what, folks? They walked away from Christ while Christ was present on earth with them. Think about that. Mm-hmm. So when I see stuff like that, I'm like, well, listen, if they're going to walk away from Christ himself, we're going to have testimonies and we're going to see examples of that even until this day, where people be justified in their mind not realizing they're betraying the truth that has awakened them. What verse you left off at, Elder Lawyer?
67. Then
Read.
said Yeshua unto the 12, will ye also go away?
Then he looked at the 12 disciples. Are you going to follow them now? Are you going to follow them? Because, folks, I'm going to tell you, and I've learned this in this ministry. It has taught me many things. You would have people who would latch on with the intentions of a doctrine they came in with, but won't say it. They came in with another doctrine, but because they see a train moving that cannot be stopped, they're trying to latch on to add on. I've seen that over and over and over again because they don't have the power and the patience to start from the beginning. They'd rather latch on and try to convince people that are already moving with the body of their doctrine that didn't get anywhere from its inception. So I read the scriptures and I'm like, yo, I can see this, I can see that. And now it's to a point where when I see it at its infancy stage, I'm able to stomp it out. Why? Because Christ went through it. It's in the gospel. I can see a spirit materializing as heresy that's coming off as innocent. Oh no, I just had a concern. Oh no, it's I was just wondering. Oh no, well, we were just talking, and we was going to bring it up to y'all. Oh no, well, or they'll come up with, why don't we do this for the poor? Why don't we do that for the poor? Obviously, what we're doing is working if you're here. Mm-hmm. If you're here, it's working. You think there's no poor amongst us? So you have to watch people who's trying to carve out a little niche as if they're Christ by themselves. Okay? To accuse those who have taught them. Not outright, but to do it in a serpent type of way, as if they're concerned. If you're concerned, if someone was concerned, they would do like many courageous men and women do. They would just call us. And I'm just giving you a modern day example. Someone got concerned, you can reach us. But that's not your concern. You want to try to make a church within a church. Carving out something for yourself. No, at least these guys had the courage to say, you know what? This is too much for me. I'm out of here. So I'm teaching this on multi-layers. Because you don't have concerns and not talk to the people who can actually do something about the concerns. If you're not talking to the people who can actually do something about it, you're only saying it to do what? To cause division. Finish reading, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. Verse number 68. Then Simon Peter answered him, Lord, to whom shall we go? Thou hast the words of eternal life.
And Peter said, listen, I'm not going with those characters. Because if we go with them, what of us? We understand that what we've learned from you, we've never heard before. Okay? You have the keys. So what am I going to follow these guys for? No, we good. And guess what, folks? At this particular scenario here, this particular verse, it was many who was following Christ. The 12 were just the 12 that were left, that was obedient. And even one of them was off. One of them was off because why? Check this out. Christ starts off with absolutely nothing coming out of the wilderness after a fast. Get baptized. Find 12 guys. Have nothing at all. And by the end of Christ's ministry, he has ships. He has a treasury. He put Judas over the treasury. And here it is, organically out of nowhere, he's teaching, and all of these finances is coming in. And now Judas is looking at this like, yo, hey, he's not going to miss this. He's not going to miss that. See? Not realizing that Christ was establishing something for Peter to start a work after his death. So carnal people can only see what? Today. They can only look on what? The surface. So they'll come in and make a blanket assumption of what a work is without realizing the sacrifice that it takes to go from nothing to something. And you can come into something and now you got an opinion on what to do with the something. Or instead, build with the something and add to the something so that our people will have something when this kingdom falls. Finish reading.
Verse 69. And we believe and are sure that thou art the Christ, or art that Christ, the Son of the living God.
We are sure that you are the Christ. You're the Son of the living God. Read.
Yeshua answered them, have not I chosen you 12, and one of you is a devil?
He says, I have chosen 12 of you, and even one of you are a devil. Now just imagine that. Christ walking with a man that he know eventually will betray him. Why? Because don't forget, folks, Judah, that's his Hebrew name, Yahweh, he was a man of many talents. He's an Israelite. He had many gifts. He was smart, articulate, educated. He says, yeah, it's just you 12, and even one of you is the devil. But not once did Christ say, you know what, bro, step off. I can't be amongst you. Because why? Judas had free will. Judas would have a choice. He would have a choice to follow the God of this world instead of getting incinerated and offended because he had a plan with the ministry that he didn't start, or humble himself and just come under the obedience that was Christ. He had that choice. That was free will. And his stubbornness and his stiff-necked mind wouldn't allow him to concede. That's what was wrong with Judas. It's not that he was some evil, wicked, deceitful guy. But the one place that he had a fault, he didn't repent from. He was carnal. It's not that he didn't care for the poor. He always thought about what he would get out of it too. It was about him first. So it's not like he was some ruthless, wicked, evil dude. He wasn't as bad as Barabbas. Judas was known for many great things before he ran into Christ when you go into his history. He was a guy that if he was an Israelite today, he would probably be more gifted and talented as a teacher and everything amongst the world right now. So he had gifts. That's why the Christ chose him. But he couldn't get over his own carnal mind. Everything that went down, he had to see himself getting something out of it first. So he didn't overcome that temptation. He didn't put that down. And so many people, when they be a part of something, instead of seeing the whole thing move to support the future of those who haven't received the word yet, they always look at what's going on with them and get offended. Not realizing this thing ain't for you. It ain't for me. It's for Christ's kingdom. So that's what was wrong with Judas. Judas was carnal, and even when he did good, he always looked at what he could get out of the deal first. And that's wrong. Anytime Christ would try to teach him to overcome that, because the example was that alabaster box. Christ could have easily said, Judas, go sell it. Or Judas, take this part of the oil and I will let her anoint me with the rest. But you know why he didn't do it? Because that was Judas's test. For one time, allow someone to have something without you being included in it, without you having a say over it. That was Judas's test, and he failed. He couldn't get over his own self-interest. So yes, he was a great man. He could do many things. And guess what? A betrayal isn't a betrayal unless it's two people who really care and have love for one another. Christ loved Judas and all of his talents. But Judas just couldn't get over himself. Where are you?
Verse 71. He spake of Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon, for it was he that should betray him, being one of the 12.
Being one of the 12. So, folks, when you hear or see something out there, always understand there's an agenda unspoken. Everybody come online as if they're totally pious and have the best interest of everyone at heart. But if you see someone denigrating another person to try to stand on top of them as if they're better, know that's their true purpose. That's their true heart. Not no, oh, Ahia, Shishaya, and the Most High, and Ahia, and they do all that. Like, okay, see what comes out of their mouth. See what comes out of their mouth. They'll try to use the Most High's name, using it in vain. Because why? In their hearts are what? The spirit of those who have killed the prophets. They'll denigrate, they'll talk down, they'll lie, they'll smear, not realizing that everyone will, guess what? Every word you'll give account on a day of judgment. Every word. Where are you, Elder Lawyer?
Oh, that's it.
Elder Lawyer, let's go to the root of that particular spirit. Let's go to Mark 4:17. We're going to move through these. Only got a few more left, okay?
Yes, sir.
Let's go to Mark 4:17. Here's the root of a person who becomes a murmurer, a backbiter, a betrayer. Let's go to Mark 4:17. Read it.
St. Mark 4, verse 17. And have no root in themselves.
Read the verse form, the 16 and 17.
Yes, sir. Verse 16. And these are they likewise, which are sown on stony ground.
These are they who are sowed on stony ground. Now, folks, those on stony ground, just imagine, folks, trying to grow a plant by putting the seed where stone is. What happens? Or you may put it in the ground, but there's a stone right there under where the seed is. What happens? Now, the example of that, and the unfortunate thing about this internet, is that the majority of people who learn online receives this truth on stony ground. That's the unfortunate part. Those that can actually make it in and be baptized and actually grow the knowledge you've learned online is a blessing in of itself. Because not too many people, don't forget, thousands upon thousands of people see these videos. But the majority of people who view this gets the knowledge on stony ground, and they formulate an opinion without personally walking with us. See? if you personally came up under us. There's not too many people who personally came up under us that are not with us. Okay? Not too many people. I'm talking about people who work directly with myself and Elder Lawyer. And an extension of that, Elder Gabar, Elder Yarak. There's not too many people who walk with us, who know us, that walked away since the beginning of this ministry, the Gathering of Christ Church. And I'm going to tell you this. Listen to what it's saying here. If you learned online, you're getting it through stony ground. Because why? You formulate an opinion without us actually interacting. So that leaves areas of what? Of blind spots. Okay? Or where other people may say something, and because you didn't walk with us, you'll give an ear to something that could be a total lie. See? So that's the stony ground. Read.
And these are they likewise which are sown on stony ground.
Read.
Who when they have heard the word.
They hear the word.
Immediately receive it with gladness.
They receive the word with gladness. Yo, you need to check out those guys, man. They dropping some stuff I never heard before. See, but when you are amongst us, then it's a trying period. Because maybe there's some things you're used to doing that must get corrected amongst what? Amongst a church. Where you're not allowed to just say what you want to say and not be accountable for that. That's murmuring. That's backbiting. When there may be other things going on in your life that we can help you with, but it must come with what? Interaction first. To help shape, so that we can help shape one another, each other in this ministry. Well, if you're online, that's not afforded to you. So the thing that you would have been corrected with amongst us is still with you. Because you don't know what law that says the way you're interacting is incorrect. Unless you fall on a video. That one day where we're teaching about that law. So you still may be operating a certain type of way and viewing through that stony ground spirit. See? Read it.
And have no root in themselves.
But they have no root in themselves. They're not rooted in the word. And understand what it takes to endure. Folks, this is not like joining a Christian church. Where you can say, well, I don't like this church. Let me go find another church family. It isn't that like that. When you're rooted in this work, you become a prisoner. You realize, you know what? This is an extension of the gospel Christ started. And there's nowhere else to go. When you're rooted, you're here to stay through the good, bad, and the ugly. And you will not betray Christ by betraying your brethren. You will endure the hard times. There'll be mistakes. There will be conflict. There will be disagreements. There were disagreements amongst Christ and his disciples to the degree he looked at all of them and say, are you going to follow them now? Y'all can go too. But Peter and the disciples said, nah, Lord, I'm sticking with you. So I'm not going to tell you that when you come into the Gathering of Christ Church, you will receive the kingdom of heaven. Mm-hmm. Christ is going to bring that. But I guarantee you'll meet people amongst this body that you've never thought existed in this earth that genuinely care for people. That would give their shirt off for you. That if you are in need and your family in need and you're a part of this church, there's no question that we'll be here for you. That's what we can guarantee. But a lot of people don't realize that being rooted on stony ground. Finish reading.
Yes, sir. And these are they which likewise, in fact, verse 17, and have no root in themselves.
They have no root in themselves.
And so endure but for a time.
So they'll endure for a little while, for a time, until when?
Afterward, when affliction or persecution ariseth for the word's sake.
When persecution or what?
When it said affliction or persecution ariseth for the word's sake.
Because the gathering of Christ Church taught something out of the word. Who didn't know that it was going to affect you negatively. But yet you were offended. Because it was the Most High shining a light on your life. See? If someone was rooted, could have looked at that same word and said, you know what? These men don't even know me. Maybe it's the Most High through them helping me through something to overcome a negative in me. But because you're not rooted, we'll bring out a scripture that's talking about what you're dealing with, and you'll get offended and begin to hate us. When we didn't even know you, we never even met you. But you will hate us because why? What the Lord is bringing out is pricking your heart. And you need someone to blame outside of him showing you yourself. Mm-hmm. So now, because we're not saying everything you agree with, just talking about the white man and talking about Israelites in captivity, because now the Spirit is going through bone and marrow talking about what you're doing, even though you're in our absence, you're now offended. And everything that you've learned up until this point goes out the window because why? We shouldn't talk about the things out of the word that offend you personally. You see where this is going? If it's true, it's true. If the shoe fit, we should wear it for correction. We don't shoot the messenger. We don't cut people off and not hear truth anymore because what they're saying pertains to me. How can you grow without what? Constructive criticism or knowing that you are violating God's law with certain actions.
If I can mention as well, there's also the external affliction and persecution. As it says, people come in and they endure for a while, and it sounds good, the idea of being an Israelite, I'm in the truth, but until, hey, I may lose my wife because of this truth. I may lose my husband because of this truth. I may lose my job because of this truth.
Yep.
And through that, what happens, as you were mentioning, an offense comes, and you start to blame us. You're the reason why I lost my husband. You're the reason why I lost my wife.
Yeah.
Or I lost my job. And now we become the blame or the offense, not understanding that if you were rooted in this truth, you knew that these were things that were destined to happen based on you accepting this walk.
Yeah. And let me give an example from a world perspective or a perspective that most can understand. Right? An example, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
A husband and wife may come to us or one of the elders in the church for counsel. Now, the art was between them, but they had an art against each other. Mm-hmm. It had nothing to do with the guy who they called in the counsel.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
But being carnal in this world, we expect a counselor to come in and take a side. Mm-hmm. So if someone is judging the matter on the outside of it strictly with the word of God, they will just point out what's wrong according to God's law. Now, suppose the pendulum swings to a person who's doing wrong according to God's law, and we show that out of the Bible, and they're wrong. If they're righteous, they'll look at that and say, you know what? I need to correct that. I need to correct that in the spirit of saving my relationship. If they're righteous. If they're carnal, they're going to look at you and say, nah, you are taking sides with him. Mm-hmm. You are taking sides with her. And that disagreement will move from that person they're fighting with to the counselor. You know why? Because they're not rooted. Israel is a stiff-necked and rebellious people, and they automatically expect someone to take their side. Okay? To take their side. Who's on the outside just judging the matter. If I'm on the outside judging the matter, there is no side. I'm judging the information before me with God's law. And if it doesn't turn out in your favor, that's not our problem. And I'm just giving you one of many examples where people will hold something and say, well, this is a man thing, or I don't understand. You don't get a counselor to take sides with you against another person.
Exactly.
That ain't what a counselor is supposed to do. That's girlfriends. That's family.
Exactly.
Okay? And on either side, that's your family if you're a man and whatever. That's your family and all that. You don't go to a counselor to get what? To get the numbers against the person you claim to care about. To see it your way. And that's another stony ground example. They expect us to bat for them or take a side outside of us measuring things through scripture. And then I don't know how many counselors and stuff we've been in, and it comes down to, excuse me, read the scripture again. Mm-hmm. What did God say? So you're going to move this from that person to me to the Most High now? This is what the Most High say. And it's not me. The Most High said you can't do this or can't do that. But I digress. That's an example of stony ground. Elder Lawyer, a few more. Let's go to Matthew 13 and 57.
Matthew 13 and 57.
Read.
And they were offended in him.
They were offended in Christ.
But Yeshua said unto them, a prophet is not without honor, save in his own country.
Hold up. A prophet is without honor amongst his own people. Read.
A prophet is not without honor, save in his own country and in his own house.
And his own house. So even if the Most High sent a prophet, and he sent a prophet, Christ, and more than a prophet, the people will still find fault in it. Without seeing the overall picture. They can only see it through the lens they're seeing, which is what? I'm offended or betrayal, or I hate this person. Listen, I don't have to totally agree with anything, but if someone has something that can benefit my walk, guess what? I'm adding it to my walk. I don't got to agree with everything this person. Our personalities may clash or whatever the case is. Doesn't matter. We're not here, for that. Like, for instance, Paul gave the examples of what? The body. The hand cannot get mad at the foot because the foot doesn't grip like the hand. The ear cannot get angry at the mouth because the mouth speaks and not hear. So there's a way in which we can all coexist without conflict if we respect each other's position in the body. We don't all have to have the same member in agreement. And that's what people are getting mistaken. They're trying to judge things by what they feel in their heart, without understanding that you must believe in this word and understand there's comely parts and uncomely parts. It's all useful. Even the uncomely parts of our body where there's waste, guess what? You need those. Okay? So the whole thing is we have to stop looking at things and saying, well, it's how I feel. If I feel good today about it, then I'm down with it and support it. And see the overall, and I'm going to say it for the last time, folks, the overall perspective according to the heavens when it comes to a work. And you cannot understand it by looking at just today. You have to see the end of this to appreciate it. And no one respects a prophet. Not even in your own house will you be accepted. Elder Lawyer, let's get Micah 7, 5, and 6. Many shall betray one another.
Okay, the book of Micah, chapter 7. Trust ye not in a friend, put ye not confidence in a guide.
Trust you not in a friend, and put you not confidence in a guide. Now, why did the scripture say that? You know why, folks? Because some friends will just tell you what you need to know just to be your friend. Just to be amongst you. They won't even give you critical, constructive criticism because they know you'll cut them off. So our society or our community has developed a thing where you're only friends with people who agree. We can only be friends with people who will not disagree with us. And we'll surround ourselves with people who's telling us things to make us feel good when that person isn't good for us. What good is a friend if they're lying to you just to make you feel good? That's not a friend, because you're not going to get the outcome at the end of the day if this person telling you you're fine and everyone else is seeing you saying there's something wrong with what they are agreeing with. So that's what's so great about the Bible. The Bible is truth. It's not trying to become your friend. The Bible is truth. It's not there to make you feel good about your insecurities and the things you're doing wrong and still will agree with you. That's what's so great about this Bible. That's what it means by that. Because a real friend will tell you the truth. Not to hurt you, but to do what? But to have you get out of your rut and begin to do something about what's wrong. That's what a true friend is. A true friend is not going to lie to you. That's going to keep you in a rut forever. When now you're introduced to the real world and the real world tell you the truth and are crushing you because this person has sheltered you from reality. This person have told you, oh yeah, girl, everything is fine. The way you look and the way everything is good. That's not a friend. A friend would expect the best from you and to let you know if you're falling short of it. That's a friend. Finish reading.
Trust ye not in a friend, put ye not confidence in a guide. Keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lieth in thy bosom.
And the Bible says, keep the words of your mouth by what?
Keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lieth in thy bosom.
Keep the doors of your mouth from her that lieth in thy bosom. Now you can make that either way. Okay? You can have a person laying next to you, but if their ideas are against you and they're dealing with the cares of this world, and you know what you say is going to offend that person, there's certain things you can't even say, and it's a shame to the person that's lying in your own bosom. Because what you may say or do one day can be used as data against you when that person betray you. It's a shame. then it leads us to who can we trust? The Most High. It's not saying that you have to conceal everything, but watch what you say concerning something that can be used if a person was to turn on you. That's wisdom. See? Come on.
For the son dishonoreth the father, the daughter riseth up against her mother.
And this is why. Read it again.
For the son dishonoreth the father.
For the son dishonoreth the father.
The daughter riseth up against her mother.
The daughter rises up against her mother.
The daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law.
The daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law.
A man's enemies are the men of his own house.
And a man's enemy are those of his own house. So I have to examine certain things. And I can use my house as an example growing up. Now I understand, being of age, why my father made it clear. My father made it clear with my mother. He says, listen, don't you ever say something that will have my children see me any other way than how they see me. I provide and love for my children. Don't you ever say something, even an argument, that would have them look at me any other way than the respect they have for me. I used to wonder why my father would say that. Because it wasn't about the moment. Disrespect is taught. And eventually those children will know that, guess what? If these people are divided, I can take sides to get whatever I want from either one of them. Because children are very calculating and are waiting for opportunity when there's disagreement to get their way. If these two aren't together, they can get more from either side by playing one side against another. Hey, finish reading.
Therefore I will look unto the Lord.
Therefore I will what?
Therefore I will look unto the Lord.
Therefore I will look unto the Most High.
I will wait for the God of my salvation.
I will wait for Christ.
My God will hear me.
And my God will hear me. It's a shame that we're living in a time but at the end of the day, the reality is, if we don't get through these betrayals and all these things, it's going to end up where it's only a few going to make it with Christ. And that's including those of our own household. Luke 21:16.
Luke 21, verse 16.
Yeah.
And ye shall be betrayed both by parents.
We shall be betrayed by parents. Christ is talking about right now. We got our parents, the old heads, looking at TV, the priesthood demons on CNN and other places. Our elderly getting what? Direction from the pulpit of Satan to go against their own children. And on the other end, we're being sandwiched in the middle. We got the nonsense that's being taught in schools, which is really re-education centers, to have now the children go against those who can see. Read.
And ye shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren.
Parents and brethren. Don't you see that going on right now, folks? You got the synagogue of Satan with that guy, Stephen A. Smith, and other people online totally going against good men who are behind their family and taking care of their family, trying to stop their livelihood. Y'all can't see the betrayal going on where they're using our own people. It's not just out there in the public spectrum. It's happening right now in our homes, where now the parents are going against their own children, the children that came from you. You're going to side with the government over your own children. Read that last piece.
Yes, sir. And ye shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren.
And brethren. You got brothers who are breaking their relationships with their own blood because the government is telling them to. Read.
And kinsfolk.
Even your kinsfolk, even your relatives and your cousins. You can't even embrace your cousins or something because they're looking at you like the plague because the government told them you were the plague. Read.
And friends.
And your own friends now, who you grew up with because you're not making the decisions they're making, following Satan all the way to hell with this fake news. You're even going to give up your own friends. And when they come after you, if you have turned your family away, if you have turned your friends away, if you have turned your children away, who's going to be there when the government comes after you? Who's going to be there for you? When the governments of this world align themselves against you, when during their psychological campaign, you separated yourself from all the people who could have helped you. Read.
And friends.
And your friends.
And some of you shall they cause to be put to death.
And guess what? Some of them, they will even cause, man, let me tell you, to be put to death. Folks, I've seen family members usher their own family all the way to their death under this campaign. And then when you look at them and speak to them, they'll act like they didn't do anything. I'm like, but you was doing that to save your family member. Yeah, I did. But they're dead. So it wasn't the government that went and got them to follow them to get there to the point where they'll be put down. It was you included to urge them to be put down. Here is where we are, folks. Where you have all the urgency on the front end getting medical help. And then after you've urged your family member to do it, you're at the funeral a couple of weeks later without putting two and two together that you were used to kill your own family. Elder Lawyer, Matthew 12 and 25 and 26.
Matthew 12, verse number 25. And Yeshua knew their thoughts and said unto them.
And Yeshua, Christ, knew their thoughts and said unto them.
Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation.
Every kingdom that is brought, what?
Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation.
Is brought to desolation, total destruction. This is why you don't see white people on TV trying to force other white people to do something and demonizing other white people for not doing it. This is why you don't see Chinese people on TV talking to other Chinese people and trying to trying to shame them into doing something. And saying that you don't see Chinese people saying that I'm going to reject you if you don't do what the government is saying. That you shouldn't be able to work or make a livelihood for your children if you don't do what I'm saying doing. What the government say. You don't see Chinese people shaming their own people. Only our people are simple enough to get up on TV and try to shame our people out of being able to take care of their families. Why? Read.
Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation.
Because every people, a kingdom, we Israel, we are a kingdom. And if we can publicly go against ourselves, it's brought to desolation where there's no one left. That's why you'll never see white people trying to force white people publicly to do this. Or Chinese people or Arabs. Why are we the face of division? Trying to shame our own people and not realize this is Bible prophecy that leads to much death. Of the same people you claim to care for. Next verse.
Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand.
Shall not stand. And that's why I shake my head When I see brothers out there and all that, they call themselves making exposed videos and that video, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to tell you, it doesn't affect me at all. Zero. I feel for them. Because if you can do this to people who is fighting for your turn, in the kingdom that you claim that you're going to be included in with us, if you can do this against us, man. And it comes down to this. I would expect a Satanist to operate like that. And I would have more respect for a Satanist. Because at least they are admitting that they're fighting for their God. When I hear all that, I'm like, these people are crazy. They don't even realize that they are actually going against what they claim to be for. It's a shame. Because if we're not here for you with the truth, then who's going to do it? You? So I laugh at it because I'm like, it's a shame. Such lonely souls don't realize that is their work that will be shown before Christ. That when it comes before Christ, that's all they're going to have to be able to show. That they tried to tear down someone who was tore down already by Christ. I was already tore down. And I went in the water and I came up in newness of spirit to serve Christ to the kingdom of heaven. So you can't kill a man that already died. Okay? What I used to be is what I used to be. But you cannot come against something that Christ already have said, well, listen, I had my road to Damascus moment. And I never stopped the work since that day. Even if it means whatever I gained, and whatever I lost. But I never stopped. And that's why I look back and I'm checking out with people and I'm like, you know what? I hope you believe that there's a kingdom for your actions. And because the only kingdom that can benefit your actions is the kingdom that's about to fall down right now. And at the end of the day, you'll probably see me. We'll probably see one another on the other side. And it's a shame. Instead of us embracing each other in the work of Christ, your works will be to your shame. And I'm just putting that out there, not to make it personal, but this is what the scriptures are talking about. It talks about the betrayal, things that people will say. And when you put things online, folks, guess what? I know. When things are online, when you say something online, that don't come back. That's recorded and it's there forever. So I'm careful what I say online, knowing that I can't bring it back. And I feel sorry for these people because obviously they have lost their way. Read the next verse of the Lord.
Verse 26. And if Satan cast out Satan.
And if what?
And if Satan cast out Satan.
Listen, this is what Christ said. If Satan cast out Satan,
he is divided against himself.
He is divided against himself.
How shall then his kingdom stand?
How shall his kingdom stand? Because even back during Christ's time, because people couldn't understand the word, because they couldn't oppose the word, they began to demonize it and say it must be of Satan. Let me tell you, if this work we're doing is of Satan, I'm doing a lousy job. Okay? When I'm inundated with email, phone calls, and everything else, and people are going to the water, confessing their sins, and coming back to Christ and God's law on a regular basis in droves. Renouncing this kingdom, coming into the truth of Christ, renouncing their sin, coming back to the truth of the Almighty. Man, if I'm doing Satan's work, I'm doing a shoddy job. So if it's not Satan's work, and there's only two masters, whose work is it? And if it's Christ's work, why have you began to oppose it? See? What verse you left off at, Elder Lawyer?
Verse 26.
Now, Elder Lawyer, now, wrapping it up here, let's go to 6 and 24.
Matthew 6, verse number 24.
Read.
No man can serve two masters.
No man can serve two masters. So what is this? The gospel of Christ. The baptism of John. Did that come from heaven or was that of man? The baptism of John. Because Christ answered them when they asked Christ questions. He said, well, the baptism of Christ, was that from heaven or man? Now, if they say it's from heaven, then the question comes, why did you deny the baptism? See? Now, why am I going here? Elder Lawyer, get Matthew 6 and 24. Let's read that.
No man can serve two masters.
We have to decide what this truth is. If the ministry, if the ministry is of Christ, then everyone out there have a decision to make. Okay? They have a decision to make. You can't say it's in the middle because it's not. It's either doing the work that are bringing people to Christ or it's of Satan. Those that are under Satan is following every protocol and it become the mouthpiece for everything that you hear through media. There's a clear line now of those who are dealing with Christ and those who are anti-Christ. No man can serve two masters. Read.
For either he will hate the one or love the other.
He would hate the one or love the other. That means either you would hate Christ's work or Satan's work. Right? So this ministry, what side is this on? See, we love Christ's work. We hate Satan's work. We've chose a side. See? Read.
Or else he will hold to the one and despise the other.
He will hold to the one which is the gospel and despise the other. We despise the God and the agenda of this world because it's against the laws, statutes, and commandments of God. Read.
Ye cannot serve God and mammon.
You cannot serve God and the world too, and Satan too. See? So when you give a clear distinction now, instead of the gray area, now, brothers and sisters, you know how to do what? Confront betrayers or naysayers. Because there is no middle ground. You would ask right out. What they're saying, what they're teaching, is it of the Most High? And I'm talking about the doctrine that leads to salvation. Baptism, laying on of hands, treating your fellow man as you would, as Christ would treat the fellow man. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. That's how you measure and say, well, hold up. Is that Satan or Christ? And if right out, they would have to say, well, listen, I have to admit, many people are being baptized. They're changing their lives. It's of Christ. Well, listen, well, stop conflating or confusing your negative that you feel personally about someone. That's different. What you view personally about someone, you don't have to agree with someone's personality. Stop conflating that. You don't have to agree with what someone personally does. As long as they're not breaking the Most High law or offending you. See? And that's what people conflate or confuse. Because they don't like your personality, they try to claim it's not of the Most High. Well, guess what? Doing the work of the Most High and having a serious, brothers and sisters, mission towards the end develops a certain type of person that's different than the majority of the rest of the world. It just develops that. And most people don't know how to deal with it because it's not your everyday person you deal around, and they get confused concerning that personality. And that's why Christ said, don't deal with that. You are to respect the man for his work's sake, not whether or not you personally like that person. That's what you have to do. Because many people hated Christ. Their personalities clashed with him. But it didn't change who he was. And it didn't change the fact that he did everything that was bestowed upon him by our Father. He finished everything on earth. Regardless of whether or not people could get along with him as a friend. Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir.
Isaiah 9:19-1. Now let me get here real quick. Brothers and sisters, as you know, I traveled all over the earth. And we have brothers and sisters in the Middle East with the gospel, Europe with the gospel, Asia with the gospel, as well as the United States, Africa with the gospel, which we're going to really shore that up on the next level coming up. One of the first missions we did leaving the country was going into different parts of Egypt. For those who missed the beginning of this, there's a story that I had where I spoke to two people, Sam and Wazim, and they were in the room while I was in Egypt 2009. A conversation came out of nowhere where they were upset because the politicians there, the people that they knew in their family, were discussing the plans. He said Israel at this time was planning to align themselves with Ethiopia in the event to build a dam that would dry up the Nile River. Now, the reason why he was upset, Sam at the time, a guy I know in Egypt, an Egyptian, is because his family have businesses all amongst the Nile River. Their crops get water from the Nile and all that. And that it would destroy the businesses in Egypt. Elder Lawyer, you was in the room when that conversations were being had, correct?
Yes, sir.
And he said that if they try to build this dam in Ethiopia, the Egyptians will go to war. Because if they stop that river, it will destroy the economy of Egypt and Egypt will be no more. In the room, he told me this in 2009. The winter of 2009, I'm having this conversation. Going into the winter. And I said in my mind, initially, this is Bible prophecy. There was many people who went and traveled going throughout the earth with our church personally. But then there was another faction. There was another faction of people who heard we were traveling and started going into different parts of Cairo and all that I've never met. Ever in my life did I meet these people who had their own agendas and were operating on their own. Okay? It had nothing to do with me. They were told not to do so. And I'm putting that right now out there. Okay? Then you would have people that would get online from these different areas in an attempt to try to get people to go to where they are, to sustain them, because why? They're out there, not through me, through their own will, being adults, Okay? And they need someone from the United States to come through and sustain them. If they do it, that's on them. I've made it clear, anybody in my church to get with people like that in our church, that listen, that's your choice. You'll be out there stranded and dealing with like they're dealing, and then you'll be online trying to find somebody in the United States to support you later, because that's not the church work. Okay? I wanted to put that out there. Okay? Next, getting back to the political scenario that Wazim and Sam was talking about in Egypt. I need y'all to look at y'all screen. Check out your screen real quick. One moment. As you can see on your screen, it's called here, you blow it up. It's called the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Now, in 2009, this was nothing more than an idea when it was being discussed. And the Egyptians were saying, listen, if something happens, they build this dam in Ethiopia, we're going to have to go to war. The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, known as the Millennium Dam and sometimes referred to as the Hadassi Dam, okay, is a gravity dam on the Bible Nile River into Ethiopia. The Nile River into Ethiopia. It says here, under construction since 2011. 2 years after I had that conversation, they began construction. The dam is in the Benishangul Gumuz region of Ethiopia, east of the border with Sudan. The primary purpose of this dam is electricity production to relieve Ethiopia's acute energy shortage and for electricity export to neighboring countries with a planned install capacity of 6.45 gigawatts. The dam will be the largest hydroelectric power plant in Africa when completed, as well as the 7th largest in the world. Now, what's the problem with this? Filling the reservoir began July 2020. While everyone was dealing with the plague, they began filling this dam while everyone was distracted. The July of 2020, shutting everything down but drying up the river Nile eventually. Now, look what it says here. The Washington Post. Africa's largest dam powers dreams of prosperity in Ethiopia and fears of hunger in Egypt. As the reservoir fills on the Blue Nile, people in both countries are preparing for changes the dam may bring. Now, I'll be going into this down the line. I'll probably going into this more in the Academy news. But Elder Lawyer, exactly what was feared in that conversation I had in 2009 is happening right now. What's happening? Because when he said that in 2009, this scripture popped up. It's many days I prophesied on the street and was reading this same scripture. Couldn't believe that I was in the room in the Middle East, in Africa, hearing this by an Egyptian of how the Most High said, eventually the Egyptians will have judgment that would lead to a highway. And that highway would be a walking area for certain people in the region to get to the wilderness. Before I go there, other lawyer, hold that and get Ezekiel 33 where it says many speak against the wall. And all I can say this, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it publicly. Brothers and sisters, if someone try to coax you somewhere and claim they were a part of the gathering of Christ Church, don't even verify with us. They're lying. If you attempt to go someplace else on your own, having someone stir you up in a frenzy to think that it's going to be okay, if you go there, I'm going to tell you right now, our hands is clean. We warned you already. There to guide you. Do not call us about anything. Okay? Don't get out there and then say, I don't know. Nah, it's not on us because we don't know who you've connected yourself with. There's people that's over other countries and all that who's deal with all level of criminality and all that right now that you have no idea what they're doing. And if you connect yourself with them, we can't be associated with you anyway. You've been warned. Many that stand beside the wall before we go into there to Isaiah 19.
Ezekiel 33 verse 30. Also, thou son of man, the children of thy people still are talking against thee by the walls.
The children of thy people are still talking about thee by the walls. Read.
And in the doors of the houses, and speak one to another.
And they still speaking one to another.
Every one to his brother, saying, Come, I pray you, and hear what is the word that cometh forth from the Lord.
Come on.
And they come unto thee as the people cometh.
They come to thee as if they're with you.
And they sit before thee as my people.
So, folks, you have to realize there have been many people who sat amongst us or went to our churches with their own agendas. There's this guy, I forgot his name, Palal or something. He came into one of the buildings in Virginia. And his whole objective was to find some people that would help him get to another country. We don't know people's objectives when they come into our church. But they're not of us. They may come into a building with their own objectives, but really they're betrayers. Read it.
Come, I pray you, in verse number 31. And they come unto thee as the people cometh, and they sit before thee as my people.
So they'll sit as if they're down with us. Read.
And they hear thy words, but they will not do them.
But they'll still do what they want to do. See? That's how you know whether or not they're really with the church. They only use our name to gain some level of credibility to do what? To deceive the impressionable. The leaders and elders and deacons of this church are together. There's no people we got out somewhere by themselves, lone nuts, talking about their GOCC or related to us. We don't know these people. Okay. Read.
For with their mouth they show much love.
Oh yeah, I'm down with the GOCC, man. Yeah, they dropping it, man. But Ahia is dealing with us too. You too. Who are you? What have you done? Where's your works? Read.
But their heart goeth after their covetousness.
But their hearts goeth after their own covetousness. Go after their own agenda. They're only going to leech on the people who can do what? Help them with their wicked agendas. Same as Judas. Egypt now. Let's go to Isaiah 19 and 1. Let's read it.
Isaiah 19 verse 1. The burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it.
Because why? It's straight paganism. They have many different beliefs and superstitions over in that country. Ancient Persian mythology, Islam, Christianity, you name it, it's filled with pagan ideology. So the Most High is going to do what? It's in his spirit to cause a famine and a drought there. Read.
And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom.
Kingdom against kingdom, city against city, almost verbatim with what Christ said. You know what happens? You know what would culminate this type of activity? Survival. When resources begin to dry up. And this is why I told brothers and sisters, listen, follow leadership. Follow the leadership of the church. How can people talk about fleeing and going somewhere and they're not under the elders who initially said it? But hey, we're going to show you what the Bible has for you. And if it be the Most High will, when it's all over, we'll see you in the wilderness. Read.
And the spirit of Egypt shall fall in the midst of thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek the idols. They shall seek to the idols, and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards.
They're going to start going to their wizards, their priests, their mas. Read.
And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts.
Come on.
And the water shall fall, or shall fail from the sea.
And the water shall fail from the sea.
And the rivers shall be wasted and dried up.
And the rivers shall be wasted and dried up. What verse you at, Elder Lawyer?
Verse number 5.
Come on.
And the water shall fall, or shall fail from the sea, and the rivers shall be wasted and dried up.
And the rivers shall be wasted. Let me show you. And dried up. Africa, largest dam powers, dreams of prosperity in Ethiopia. That's a lie. And fears of hunger in Egypt. I was there 2009 when this was being discussed, when it was only an idea being discussed politically. In the room where someone said, what my family is talking about this, how their business is going to suffer if this thing with Israel, Egypt, and Sudan comes into fruition. If they build a dam, it's going to dry up Egypt. Bible prophecy. And it's called the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Finish reading. And at the same time this was going on, I went amongst brethren, even rogue brethren, and said, listen, y'all better fall up under the church and be guided. Yep. And you know what? To no avail. They wanted to do what they wanted to do. Listen, these are grown folk. I just got to put it on record, online and everything, so that whatever materialized from what's coming, no one can say these people weren't warned. Not just the Egyptians, the disobedient Israelites. Finish reading.
And the water shall fail from the sea, and the rivers shall be wasted and dried up.
Come on.
And they shall turn to the river far away, and the brooks of the fence shall be emptied and dried up.
Whoa, come on.
The reeds and flags shall wither.
There will be no water. They're going to finish this dam. They did it under the cloud of the plague in 2020. They began to fill the dam, and there was no news anywhere concerning this. Why? News everywhere was talking about what? The code. They covered the news, and under the cover of all the news where people are only talking about shutting down and all this and wearing masks, They were actually bringing forth Bible prophecy, building a dam that will dry up the Nile River. No water, no produce. This is going to have the Egyptians go mad. There's only a few locations that's going to survive in Egypt. All of Cairo will be decimated. And this is before Christ returns. All of it. The Egyptians are going to start fighting against each other. Why? For the sake of survival in Cairo. Now there's more. Finish reading.
Verse 7. The paper reads, by the brooks, by the mouth of the brooks, and everything sown by the brooks shall wither, be driven away, and be no more.
And that's the God of Israel who said it. That's the God of Israel. Hold that and get Ezekiel 33 again.
One more verse.
Go ahead.
Verse 8. The fishers also shall mourn.
The fishers shall mourn.
And all they that cast angle into the brooks shall lame it. And they shall spread nets upon waters.
They shall spread nets. Folks, this scripture right here is talking literally about Egypt. The literal Egypt. This ain't no spiritual America right now. Even though a lot of what it says will pertain to a lot what's going on here, this is talking about physical Egypt. Read.
And they that spread nets upon the waters shall languish.
They shall cry. Some of the best fish you can find there. It's called Burisingeti. They're going to be crying. Why? The brooks will dry up because the Nile River is not just the Nile. It breaks off into brooks and streams to actually water all the farmland there. Go back to Ezekiel and let's end it there.
Ezekiel 33, verse 30.
Come on.
Also, thou son of man, the children of thy people are still talking against thee by the walls.
They still talking against us by the wall.
And in the doors of the houses, and speak one to another, every one to his brother.
Come on.
Saying, come, I pray you, and hear what is the word that cometh forth from the Lord.
They'll say, well, let's go check that out. Read.
And they come unto thee as the people cometh, and they sit before thee as my people.
So the prophets even told us that they're going to be people that's going to come amongst us strictly for credibility. Just to say that they rub elbows with us or they probably conversated with us. Because why? They have no credibility and no works to stand on their own. So the Bible tells you that there's going to be people like this. Read.
And they hear thy words, but they will not do them.
So when it come time for the the obedient part of being raised into a position with hands being laid on you and being sent out and actually dealing with the obedience of the gospel, they're not there for that because they already think that they have the path in their mind. They already have an agenda. Read.
It says, they sit before thee as my people, and they hear thy words.
They'll hear it.
But they will not do them.
But because they have their own agendas.
For with their mouth they show much love, but their heart goeth after their own covetousness.
Oh, yeah, man. Those brothers are tight, man. Yeah, I learned a lot with those brothers. But check out my plan. Look at what we're thinking about. Be very, very careful, folks. This is a way you can identify usurpers. Betrayers. Finish reading.
And lo, thou art unto them as a very lovely song.
Oh yeah, that brother can teach.
Of one that hath a pleasant voice and can play well on an instrument.
So to some people, it's just sound good like an instrument because why? It cannot be denied its truth. Oh man, when he dropped this and dropped that. So some people it just come through because it sounds good to them. Read.
And can play well on an instrument, for they hear thy words, but they do not do them.
But they will hear the words, but not do them. Read.
And when this cometh to pass, lo, it will come.
And when everything that we were talking about since the beginning of this ministry began come to pass, and it's happening. Conversations about this dam happen in a room in Egypt that I'm listening to. Just a regular old family conversation where people were talking about it. And it's happening right now. Years later, it's going down. So when these things happen, and it surely will, read.
Then shall they know that a prophet have been among them.
Then they shall know that a prophet was amongst them. See? When all of these things happen the same way it was shown, then people are going to say, you know what? It just wasn't about one man. Christ was helping us. We should have gotten the work and finished in our ministry we were called under, and respected the authority that was in the earth, brethren, who was paving a way to bring forth a kingdom for our people. With that, I'll say shalom. Many shall betray one another, and everything was covered from nuts to bolts. So if anyone fall victim to whatever out there, it's because what? They choose to. There's no one to blame. We've tied it up into a pretty nice bow for you so you can understand the spirit of betrayal. And if anyone wants to be betrayed or betray others, or someone say, well, I didn't know, you're not going to be able to say that. Really, it was the intent of your own heart. And at the end of the day, every individual has the power to do what they want to do. Okay? So I don't have no issue with it. Right? You got to do what you want to do. Christ didn't have no issue with people walking away and people calling him in these names and saying that he's casting out Satan. He had no problem with it at all because he had a work to finish. Neither do we, but you have to live with your choices. Your choices aren't our fault when you don't follow directions. And at the end of the day, the Most High has given all of us and you enough grace to understand the word and be warned. And now that you understand it, and if you're out there and you're operating contrary, an opportunity to change course. With that, Elder Lloyd, what we going into tomorrow?
The judgment of the nations.
The judgment of the nations tomorrow. You don't want to miss it. And it's deep that we went right from here into the judgment of the nations.
Yes, sir.
Many shall betray one another, and now we're going into the judgment of the Gentile nations who are deceiving you all, the people in this world, and how Christ will crush them to powder. Christ will put a foot on it. The Lion of Judah will soon return. With that, I'm going to say shalom. Be prayed up, sin not. We will soon see Zion. And I'm looking for you, brothers and sisters, to come into our Hebrew and Bible Academy. Who knows? I don't know how many more we have left, but I'm going to put everything we have in the one to come, October 31st. With that, I'm going to say shalom. May the Most High be with you. Be prayed up. Sin not. We will soon see Zion. Shalom.
To Zion.
$ GOCC 144 donate.
Lost, but now I'm found. I'm a child of Israel. I heard the sound. Please give me the strength to stand today. With my eyes towards the east, show me the way to Zion. I'm on my knees, laying my life on the line. I'm begging, please don't let me fall. Give me the strength. Place my feet, Lord God, my past.